In the recent game against the Charlotte Hornets, they were up double digits late, end up losing in overtime. Offense goes completely ice cold near the end of the game. Charlotte make a huge comeback. In the game against Portland Trailblazers, as I said, it was kind of the same story. They're up double digits late, or close to that if they weren't. And Portland make this huge comeback. The Raptors kind of get some free throw luck and do just enough to get over the line. And what should have been a more comfortable win in the end. So yes, they won the game, and they have been winning games in this stretch, and that's kind of the mark of a good team, which we talked about last week. But still, is it starting to become concerning how much the Raptors are struggling on offense as of late? Let's break that down. They're still winning, like I said. We look at the recent stretch of games, and we're specifically going to look at the recent 5 games. The recent 5 games for the Raptors, where they had Cleveland, Indiana, Charlotte, New York, and Portland. Cleveland, they put up 110. Indiana, they get kept under 100 but still win, 97. Charlotte takes them to OT. They only put up 111, even with OT. New York, they only managed 94. And Portland, they just won. They got 121, so a bit better in that one. But the last 5 games, it felt like the offense has been, maybe even more particularly the last 4 games, the offense has been a little bit tough to watch for the Raptors. And they were getting really good output from it at the start of the season. Their offensive rating was like top 7 or 8 in the NBA. Their half-court offense at one point was number 1 in the NBA. But it feels like we're kind of seeing some fragilities with the half-court offense as of late, particularly that Charlotte Hornets game. Brandon Ingram started the game 10 of 17, and then in the clutch of the game, missed 8 shots in a row. He was struggling. The Raptors didn't really have an answer beyond that. I think the Hornets went on a 12-0 run near the end of that game. And it's just becoming apparent that there could be a little bit of an over-reliance, I think, in those clutch moments on Brandon Ingram. And the Raptors have been good in the clutch this year, but it's just the last few games we've seen a little bit more struggles there. And I mean, the offense overall has hit it's definitely hit a rough patch. I mean, you can't really argue with the numbers here. The Raptors in their last 5 games have an offensive rating of 106.9. That's really bad. And still, to their credit, the Raptors in that stretch have won 3 of the 5 games. And we said last week, is it concerning that they're winning, but they're winning ugly? Is that a problem? I mean, obviously you'd like them to play well, but me personally, I see those numbers and those figures, and I think, well, I feel like it's more of a mark of a good team finding ways to win despite the fact they're not playing well. But 106.9, to put that in perspective, as far as offensive ratings go, would be the last in the NBA. Even worse than the Dallas Mavericks, who are currently operating in last place there by 0.1. That's only a 5-game stretch. That's only a small sample size. But again, it's just pretty clear to see Raptors offense is struggling. The half-court offense has taken a little bit of a dip. Perhaps there is a bit of an over-reliance on Brandon Ingram, because in that Hornets game, I mean, they just put bodies on him. They sent doubles his way, and it kind of felt like he was only getting even really tough shots, even by his standards, or he just felt like he was gassed in that Hornets game, having to do so much. And, in this stretch, other than, the last game yesterday against the Portland Trailblazers, Grady Dick was great off the bench, 17 minutes, 14 points. But in this stretch where he's had to have a bigger role because R.J. Barrett is injured, who has been missing the last 5 games, and that might play a part, and we'll touch on R.J. Barrett a little bit later on in the stream today. Grady Dick and Agbaji had been struggling as well. And when you've needed guys to step up, they hadn't stepped up in those larger roles and in those larger minutes. So, again, some worrying signs here as far as the offense is concerned. But, again, they found a way to get over the line against the Pacers when they didn't play well. The Charlotte game, let it go in the clutch. Rare outcome. They probably played well enough to win that game. They didn't trail at all in the first 48 minutes. They only trailed in OT. So, maybe a freak incident. Knicks game, as alarming as the scoreline looks, 22-point loss. Yeah, that sucks. And it's against a good team in the East, and you're thinking, probably not a good sign. But to take it into perspective as well, it was a second night of a back-to-back. Both games were away from home, so you have to travel for both. Second night of a back-to-back. Jakob Poeltl rested for that game due to injury management. You're kind of set up to lose that game. I can kind of forgive that one. Charlotte's the one you needed to win, knowing you had that tough back-to-back against the Knicks at MSG. But really good bounce back to win against the Portland Trailers, despite some fragilities in the clutch again. So definitely for me, some worrying signs as far as like the offense and half-court offense is concerned. But still finding ways to win is a positive. So I think that there should be some inquisition into particularly like the half court game and the clutch fronts. Like, what are we doing wrong in the clutch in these moments where we're not putting teams to bed? We're not finishing off these games that we should. Because even like the Pacers game, they made a little bit of a comeback late. Yes, Brandon Ingram is fantastic, and you kind of traded for him for these sorts of moments where you can stick the ball in his hands, he can get you a bucket, he can get you a tough make, and for a lot of the season, he's been able to do that. Particularly, the buzzer beater, near buzzer beater against the Indiana Pacers, excuse me. But we still need to find ways to diversify the offense in those moments. And maybe a 9-game win streak kind of made them feel like almost invincible, like they weren't going to lose these games. But in some scenarios, like the Hornets game, it can bite you. And it quite nearly did in the Blazers game if it weren't for some free throws going our way, or missed free throws from Portland maybe going our way late in the game. Raptors did well to get over the line there, but I think it's important to diversify the half-court offense a little bit more, because you're not going to be able to just bank on Brandon Ingram every single game to kind of get you over the line. And to the Raptors' credit, in the last game against the Blazers, Scotty Barnes stepped up with 28 points, big-time step up. And he quickly stepped up big time with 23 points on 9 of 11 shooting, 5 of 6 from 3. So even though it was only 7 of 17 for Brandon Ingram, an inefficient game from him, the Raptors still racked up 121 points there. But, clearly, Raptors coming back down to earth a little bit from a half-court offense standpoint. We are seeing maybe the lack of floor spacing hit them a little bit, and teams are kind of getting a little bit privy to what the Raps are doing. And for sure, we're missing out. You're missing 20 points per game from R.J. Barrett. You're missing a bit of rim pressure from him there. Somebody who can create something for himself in some certain scenarios. You're definitely seeing where the Raptors can go a little bit astray there. So as for the upcoming schedule, yeah, definitely big positive to put up 121 there. But the upcoming schedule, there are some tough games. So we'll definitely learn a lot more about the Raptors in this upcoming stretch. We've got the Lakers at home. Then we have the Hornets rematch. Hopefully we can put things right there. Then you got the Celtics on Sunday. Tough game. I think the Raptors will be maybe slightly favored, but still a tough game. Then you got a rematch with the Knicks at home. So 4 more games in this homestand. Some tougher games in it as well. I think we'll have to kind of really reevaluate in pockets here, because was it just like running really hot for 9 games to get the 9-game win streak? Is there something to be concerned about the offense? I think that we're kind of seeing some levels of concern pop up, and like, okay, do we need to start thinking about things a little bit more? But we're not ready to make drastic moves yet. Like, absolutely not. This team is 15-7. We're second in the East. Let's see how this next stretch of games go before we think that there is a real problem. But definitely something brewing a little bit in this stretch. And again, maybe more info comes out when RJ Barrett's back, and maybe the offense starts to look a lot better again in that one.